Cool. Jane texted me on that thread with your buddy Matt. That's so fun. Did you tell her? Or did you reach out to the other guy or just let it go?
2. 1, 2.
Got it.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome.
Shalom.
We are so thrilled to welcome you all here for this evening, this really special occasion for our community. We are going to have lots of special guests and opportunities for song and participation throughout the evening, not the least of which is that for our opening prayer, we are going to begin on page 24 with the words of Shalom Aleichem, and I'm pleased to welcome my friend Max Kirschenbaum to the Bima, who is going to help lead us in this prayer. Please do join us and sing along. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei
to see so many of you here, and it is so good to know that many more of you are joining us from home. It's really good to be together for a happy occasion, a simcha. We know that this is a special night for Rabbi Gewirtz and for our entire community. We hope that whether you're joining us wherever you are, Whether your mask is on or off, we're all part of the same community. We can all sit in the same sanctuary together. We hope that in the midst of this special night and this busy season in our lives, tonight gives you a moment to breathe, to come off the treadmill that we all run on, to have a few moments to yourself and to connect with our community. The sweetness of this night is also shared by 3 of our TBJ families, who we will now call to the bima to light the Shabbat candles, and we invite up the parents of tomorrow's Bnai mitzvah.
Okay, right here, as we light. No, you guys are reading together.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
As we light these Shabbat candles, we link ourselves with the generation of our people who have kindled these holy flames. Time passes quickly, and we take this moment to pause and express our gratitude.
We stand here as a family with humility and with love for this occasion, for one another, and for being a part of this sacred community. As we participate in this age-old ritual, we embrace this moment as we move forward in the cycle of our lives.
Yesterday we held our children in our arms, and tomorrow they will be called to the Torah as Bnai Mitzvah. These Shabbat candles remind us not only of the joy of this occasion, but they help us to see the light within one another and the strengths that each of us possesses. Grateful for all the precious gifts in our lives, we kindle the Shabbat lights.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahalek ner shel shachar.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
This week in our Torah, we read from Parshat Kedoshim, a Torah portion in which we receive direction from God and from our tradition about how we relate to one another as people. The Parsha opens with the words from God to the people, Kedoshim tihiyu, you shall be holy, for I, your God, am holy. Holiness is a funny word to define, sometimes also defined as the sacred, or that which we set apart from our everyday lives. This holy and sacred community comes together tonight to honor our beloved and esteemed leader, Rabbi Matthew Gewirtz. Every person in this room has felt the impact and the holiness of your leadership. The love, passion, commitment, and drive that allows you to lead this congregation with an energy that is seemingly unending. Like the Ner Tamid that hangs above the ark behind us, reminding us of the holiness of God's presence, you, Rabbi Gewirtz, for the last 25 years have been a guiding light for so many, myself included. You bring all of yourself to your rabbinate, and in doing so, you bring a holiness and a spark that ignites a passion for Judaism, for peoplehood, and all the beauty that is found within it. We are so privileged to be on this journey with you, and we look forward to all the holiness that we know is to come in the next 25 years. So with joy and with song, we welcome this Shabbat together. I'll invite you to join me on page 20 in your prayer books as we lift our voices, Lecha Dodi.
continue on page 146 with Baruch Hu, and I'll invite you to please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Mevarim.
Continuing in the Hebrew on the next page, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim B'Chochma Poteach Sharim Uvitvuna Mishanei Itim Umachalif et Hazmanim Umesader et HaKochavim B'Mishmerotehem Barakia Kirtzono Borei Yom V'Laila Golel Or Mipnei Hoshech V'Hoshech Mipnei Or.
Ma'avir Yom U'mehei B'Laila U'mavdil Ben Yom U'ben Laila Adonai Tzivaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Hamahari V'Ravim.
Continue on page 149, the words of Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malachuto Le'olam Mevarim.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך וכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We'll continue responsively on page 151. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes all our grasp as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Adonai et Yaakov, uge'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Ga'ai Yisrael.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. We pray these words of Hashkivenu, asking God to provide a sukat shalom, a shelter of peace over us, over our families, over all of Israel. We turn to this prayer for those who need protection and for those who actually do the act of creating our own mini Sukkot Shalom, either a physical or a metaphorical shelter of peace. As we honor Rabbi Gewirtz this Shabbat, we honor the shelter that actually is this congregation, and more than that, the impact he has had on making sure that TBJ and every community he touches flourish with a sense of that peace and wholeness. As he leads this community with his words and his wisdom, it creates not only a shelter of peace, but a shelter of guidance for those that turn to him, a shelter of mentorship for those who follow in his footsteps, and one of learning, compassion, and vision for this spiritual home. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, and over Jerusalem. And at this point in our service, we take a moment for a Misha Berach, for a prayer for those in need of healing, healing of the body or healing of the spirit. Tonight, in our Bnai Jeshurun community, we're praying for Hava Sarah Batlea, Cindy Baker, Erwin Baker, Maurice Clark, Ada Barbara Corvelli, Moshe Danielle, Marcy Goldsmith, Elliot Goldstein, Rick Gratt, Julie Levine, David Rothman, Teresa Schlossberg, Tammy Schwartzberg, Shmuel Ben Rivka, Barry Suskind, and Johnny West. And we add to those names those that each of us are individually holding in our hearts this Shabbat. If you're praying for someone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name, and if you feel so inclined, their relationship to that person out loud as my eyes meet yours. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals the sick. The Misha Berach can be found on the inside cover of your prayer book.
Call
Please rise for the blessings of the Amidah, page 155.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agim tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol, ata rav lehoshiach. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofech olim. Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom elach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim bechol yom yehallelu selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. In addition to the festivities and celebrations this evening, it's also the first Friday of the month and the time in our congregation when we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. So if you are celebrating one of those in the month of May, I'll invite you to please rise. So May is a month of transitions. For us, by the time May comes, the cold winds and usually, besides today, the rainy weather of early spring are on their way out. And the spring flowers are blooming and we're getting ready to slow down a bit for the summer. If you're on the other side of the world in the southern hemisphere, it's a time when summer is long gone and the nights are starting to get colder and darker. So no matter where you are in the world, May is a time for change. So for us, maybe it's a shift in outlook or mindset. Maybe it's a stage of life change of some sort, a graduation, a career move, a transition for maybe one of your children or grandchildren that feels significant. So as you enter into another trip around the sun in your life or in your relationships, my blessing for you is that whatever changes may come your way in this new year, may you embrace that evolution as we embrace the change of seasons each year around this time. With some joy, with hope, and with a lot of peace. So we'll say the words that we say at special moments, the words of Shehachianu, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, and we thank you for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this day in the cycle of all of your lives. in all of our lives. Amen. And with that, we'll continue with those prayers of peace, not just for ourselves, but for our world, with the words of Shalom Rav, page 164.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lekol hashalom. Tasim leolam, v'tov be'einecha livaneh et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובכל שעה, לשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim
So many of us have had the privilege to travel to Israel with Rabbi Matt. Over the years, we have taken that long flight of return, and with his steady hand have experienced the beauty and complexity of our homeland. It is fitting then that this service takes place when we also mark Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's 74th birthday. If you know our dear Rabbi Matt, you know that something inside him becomes alive when he is ba'aretz, in the land. And despite its many complications, there and here, he helps all of us to embrace our own personal ahavat Yisrael, our love for Israel. And it has been one of the joys of my career to travel with all of you, to travel with him, to spend that time in the land so different from here, and yet you come back and you somehow feel even closer than when you were there. Following our silent prayer, we will hear a special musical selection from Psalm 122, Samachti be'omrim li. I rejoiced when they said to me, let us go up to the house of the Eternal. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May all those you love be secure. So we rejoice that we have, and will, God willing, have the chance to return to the land, to go up to that house of the Eternal. And we pray that our trusted leader, lover of Israel, and all of us will be secure. We pray in silence.
שמחתי באומרים לי, בית אדוני נלך, עומדות היו רגלינו, בשערייך ירושלים, ירושלים הבנויה, כעיר שבחורה לה יחדיו, ששמענו שבטי העדות לישראל, להודות לשם אדוני.
שאלו שלום ירושלים, ישליו אוהבייך, יהי שלום בחילך, שלווה בארמנותייך, למען חי ורעי. אדברה שלום לך, למען בית אדוני אלוהינו, אבקשה טוב לך, למען בית אדוני
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Again, it is so good to be together with all of you who are here and all of you who we know are joining us from home. Just a few words to begin tonight's presentations. Evenings like this do not happen without the hard work, attention to detail, and flexibility of a large group of people. Many of them are listed in your orders of worship, so please make sure you see the names of those who baked, those who are singing, and all those are musicians, and you really get to know a sense of everyone who worked on this evening. Special thanks, of course, to the TBJ team, to Mark Rothstein, to Amy Wickenheiser, and to Rena Abrams for their partnership, of course, to our maintenance and security teams who are helping all of this run smoothly behind the scenes. A huge thank you to my planning partner and dear friend, Lauren Rutkin. What can I say? We make a truly excellent team. Finally, thank you to our Board of Trustees who support and partner us with this and with all of our sacred work. That board is led by our president, and for a few weeks longer, until he gets to roll off of his time as president, it's really my pleasure to invite to the bima Craig Parker, our synagogue president, to share a few words.
Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of myself, my family, and the Board of Trustees, it's an honor to be here today to celebrate Rabbi Matt and his award of an honorary doctorate on the occasion of his 25 years in the Rabbinate. Given the events of the last 2+ years and the multitude of COVID-related phone calls, emails, texts, Zooms, and task force meetings, it seems only fitting that we now honor Dr. Gewirtz. While many of us have been spending a lot of time lately discussing the physical infrastructure of our home, there is no question that Rabbi Matt is the spiritual infrastructure that warms our hearts and souls more than the aging boilers below us ever could. We are incredibly fortunate that 16 of his 25 years as a rabbi have been spent here at Congregation Bnai Jeshurun as our esteemed senior rabbi. For about 10 of his years here, and particularly the last 3, I have been blessed to partner with Matt in the sacred work of our soon-to-be 175-year-old congregation. It is undisputable that Rabbi Matt has been an indelible figure in the storied history of this great congregation. He is beloved by all, young and old, new members and multi-generational members alike, and rightfully so. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we look forward to the next 25 years and all that he will accomplish. While I never thought that I would be standing here, I can assuredly say that I would not have been here if it was not for Matthew, and not just because of his partnership, but perhaps more so for his treasured friendship. Once again, on behalf of myself, my family, and the Board of Trustees, Mazel Tov to you, to Lauren, Jake, Talia, and Sadie on this tremendous accomplishment.
I want to make sure to welcome a guest and colleague, Rabbi Lisa Green, who's in the back there. You can turn around and see her. I'm sure she loves this. Lisa also received her honorary doctorate yesterday along with Rabbi Matt. She was ordained 2 years prior, but because of COVID, only had the chance to receive her well-deserved honor yesterday as well. Of course, Lisa and Betty, we are thinking of your dad and your husband, whose presence fills this room every time I am here, and truly we wouldn't be able to honor Rabbi Matt if it weren't for Rabbi Green, who came before him. So thank you for being here, and we love you, and we're glad you're here. Next up to share some words of her own, and of course to welcome our special guest, Lauren Recken.
Shabbat Shalom. Some of you know this, or may not, but Matthew and I were introduced by common acquaintances while I was working at Hebrew Union College, where he was ordained. We were stopped in the hall. We were not at all clued into what was going on. Eventually, Robert, who's here, takes partial credit for saying to Matthew, hello, I had just moved to New York, and, I had a lot of dates. So I was set up with Matthew, and he called me. We made a date for a Thursday night, and the next night I had a date with an actual doctor. I did not mean to say it like that, actually. I did not. So I was actually kind of looking forward to Friday night. I thought free healthcare, free drugs. However, that guy was a total dud, and Matthew, solid B+. So I was walking home, Upper West Side, and I was talking to my childhood best friend. I said, yeah, if he calls again, I'll definitely give it another round. He called a couple days later, and the rest is history. And now I am married to a rabbi and a doctor. I thought Liz would like that joke. But we actually have Nancy Simpkins in our life, who gives us medical advice. So 22 years, 3 children, 2 dogs, jobs that fulfill us, 2 congregations, and a very full life. I would say I am more than fortunate. It would be too difficult to articulate the impact Matthew has made on the lives of so many. You are so present for people, you push the limits, you are constantly evolving personally and professionally. Matthew, you and your team continue to reimagine Jewish life and how to work through the challenges facing the institution and our movement. You do not accept status quo. You are a fierce advocate. You connect to people of all ages because you meet people where they are. You ask the hard questions and you love so deeply. The Rabbinate has definitely changed in the last 25 years, and you have responded. You are not complacent. The balance of the spiritual and the business of running this place can be complex and exhausting some days. You don't get it right every day, but I would say you absolutely get it right most days. I would be remiss if I didn't say a few words about Congregation Rodef Shalom and, of course, TBJ. You can't make it to 25 years without a sacred partnership with your congregation. First, Rodef was there when Matthew got his start. Robert, his team, Gina, and the congregation really raised him. And when it was time to leave, TBJ was the recipient of Act 2. Nothing prepared Matthew better for this life than Rodef Shalom. TBJ took a chance on a young rabbi, and you met him where he was, entrusting him with this esteemed place. And thank you so much for being his partner. On a personal note, thank you for allowing me and our kids to be exactly who we are and for being so pivotal in our lives. You hired Matthew, but you got all of us. And thank you for loving us like you love Matthew. Sadie's at a 7th grade dance tonight where she should be, but she'll be joining us later. And Jake had practice, so he'll be here soon. And obviously you saw Talia. To the clergy team, past and present, partners and TBJ staff, I know you get all of this. Thank you for lifting us up when we needed it most. Thank you for being side by side to celebrate moments like this and for taking on this difficult work for 16 of Matthew's 25 years. Karen, my soul sister, thank you for leading today to make this so special for our family. And thank you for thanking everyone because it saved me 30 seconds. Matthew, your parents are here along with Alan and Aaron, especially when Lucy sang that. I could feel Aaron's presence. I know he's here. They would have loved these last few days, and we will honor them through our celebration of you. I am proud to be your life's partner on this incredible journey. I know the balance is not always easy, but you are so present as a husband and a father, and I so look forward to the next 25 years. I would like to introduce our speaker, Rabbi Robert and Levine. But before I introduce Robert, his wife Gina is here as well. Gina was always and is always an incredible role model for me, especially when I met Matthew. She helped guide me in navigating this world and raising our kids. They have 3 incredible kids, and Matthew and I have developed our own relationships with them independent of these 2 amazing people. Thank you, Gina, for being here today, and thank you always. On to Robert. Rabbi Levine led Congregation Rodef Shalom for 3 decades. Its 10th senior rabbi from 1991 to 2021, an inspiring teacher, speaker, counselor, and frequent guest of local and national media. He has been beloved by congregants and community alike. Robert Levine was ordained at HUC in 1977 and received his Doctorate of Divinity degree in March of 2002. So I would like to now call up Robert to say his few words.
Thank you so much, Lauren, but I think I need to take full credit for those 2 meetings. Gewirtz wasn't making the move till I gave him a little inspiration. And Gina and I are thrilled, really thrilled to be with our cherished friends. And thank you, colleagues, for giving us this honor tonight. You really should thank me for other things as well. Not only the prying of this family away from me 16 or more years ago. I can't think of a better place, though, for them to come. But there was a young girl named Lucy Batherman. I've known her entire life. She's been a star her entire life. I've loved her for her entire life. And I didn't know that she would end up here, but I knew with that glorious voice that she would wind up someplace significant. And one of the great educators of our day, Tammy A. Tammy, where are you? Is here now doing education work for you. And let me tell you, next year you have one incredible rabbinic intern with somebody I've known and loved her entire life, Hannah Ellenson. So thank me a lot for sending you some of the great people. And some of my great congregants are here, become presidents here and all the rest. Yeah, we deserve great thanks. They sometimes dub this degree the did not die degree because, you survived for 25 years in the rabbinate, which is no mean feat. Let me assure you, Rabbi Gewirtz earned this doctorate. He earned it with 25 years of incredible rabbiing, a dazzling array of Torah knowledge, passion for social justice, and of course the state of Israel, and one of the most remarkable abilities to connect person to person and soul to soul. Torah teaches the most important quality that Rabbi Matt possesses in spades. Just two very short Torah anecdotes. Jacob runs away after deceiving his brother, and it's late at night, and he lies down, and he wakes up, and there's a new awareness. And he gets up and says, "Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati." Surely God is in this place. But I, up till now, was not aware. He became aware of God's presence and the need to do something about that. Another scene, Moshe, raised in a palace of privilege, goes out and sees his people being beaten, suffering the greatest of all indignities. And he knew that he had to do something about the suffering of his people. What is that quality that is required of us? The quality that Rabbi Gewirtz possesses? Awareness, deep awareness of who you are, what you need, and what you aspire to. Awareness. Where does that come from? I would suggest to you that for him, like so many of us, it comes from an earlier time in life when things were not so stable, when life was unmoored, a time when perhaps he felt small. Reminds me of a scene in Billy Crystal's 700 Sundays. Billy was on his basketball team, but was at the end of the bench and rarely played. He had a mother who would come to every game and shout, "Put Billy in! Put Billy in!" And Billy would think to himself, "Don't put Billy in." And one day they were playing mighty Erasmus High with giant ball players. They lost that game, I think, by about 55 points. Mother kept yelling, "Put Billy in!" The end of the game, it was over anyway. They put Billy in. Billy said, "Here I am guarding a building and a pair of socks. He's so big that he has his own climate. This guy is so big that his crucifix has a real man on it." Billy Crystal felt small. We all feel small in certain moments in our life. How did Matt Gewirtz respond? He changed careers dramatically, and he entered a field that would maximize his extraordinary potential. We knew him first as a teacher of our kids, and then he became one of the great rabbinic interns of all time. And here's what I remember. You know, an internship from HUC is a 15-hour job, and we've had interns, believe me, who work 15 hours. Gewirtz didn't want to work 15 hours. He didn't want to watch the clock. He wanted more. He wanted to be able to teach more, do life cycles more, learn more. He wanted to be the very best rabbi he could become. He worked at it. Today, I can assure you, and I think you know this, he's one of the truly great rabbis of this generation, without many peers. And he brings to you such a wonderful group of skills, as I mentioned, but that awareness, that connection, I see it in your eyes. I see it in the way that you hug. You understand that he gets you. He has given you not only the gift of grief, but the gift of joy, the gift of connection, the gift of values, helping you to become better and more spiritual than you ever dared dream possible. And of course, we've known his entire family, but Matt, I can see the face of Arthur Gewirtz, who you call Pop, looking up at you and beaming with pride, particularly when you quoted Shakespeare, but many other times, and your mother looking up sometimes from her wheelchair with such pride in who their son had become and what he was prepared to do. And as we mentioned, when Lauren Rutkin became part of our community, one of the great couples, and each of them, the Torah has an expression, nafsho kashur v'nafsho, one soul is bound up in the soul of another. That's Matt and Lauren, but what a gift they are to TBJ, as together they bring a leadership team, and they've accumulated an awesome group of clergy and lay leaders, which will carry you well into the future. There is a word that the greats of our tradition say when they've connected with God and God's purposes. That word is hineni. I'm here. It's a term that denotes a fullness of presence, almost a thou in the I-thou relationship. Rabbi Matt, for 25 years, Rabbi Matt for 16 years, has said to you, hineni, I am here, I am all in. Yes, I care about work-life balance, but trust me, I am here for you, and he has been. Hineni. The term that is your hallmark and what you celebrate, TBJ together, that doesn't happen by accident. It's difficult in a large congregation. It takes an extraordinary clergy team, but it takes a leader who understands what it means to build a community, to infuse it with sparks of holiness, to infuse it with a deep connectedness that you know not only that he loves you and cares for you, but that he enables you to also say to God and to your higher self, hineni, I am here to answer your inspiration and your call. And so, on this night, I can quote Pirkei Avot, who says, Aseh lecha rav ukaneh lecha chaver. Build yourself a rabbi, but more important, make for yourself a friend. If Gina, if Rhoda Shalom had a role in building this rabbi, we are astonishingly grateful. But most important, we have made for ourselves, with Matt and Lauren and his family, lifelong friends. So I hope that you'll be able to say to each other for many years to come, Hineni, we are really here. TBJ is together. And to know that you have helped make him a rabbi, but have also acquired an astonishing friend. Thank you.
It's hard to follow that. Rabbi Matt, I've done the math, and you have given the priestly blessing approximately 2,500 times in your career so far. These are the words that you have shared with us at every simcha and life cycle event. For many of us under our chuppah, for lots of you at your child's bar or bat mitzvah, with new babies in your arms, of course at the end of every High Holy Day service, and countless times throughout the cycle of our congregational life. As you have come to this milestone moment in your rabbinate, it is our privilege to bless you with its familiar words. We, your clergy team, usually stand next to you as we offer this blessing to our people. Tonight we will stand before you with the hope that its words and meaning reaches the very depth of your spirit, the place that called you to become a rabbi, and the place that sustains you in this sacred work. I'll invite Lauren to join you in front of the ark as we invite our whole congregation to rise as we bestow upon you, our dear teacher and leader and friend, the words of the priestly blessing.
Yivarechecha Adonai lishmerecha.
May God bless you and watch over you.
Yael Adonai Panav
May God's countenance shine upon you, granting you compassion.
Is Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may God grant you the greatest gift there is, that gift of shalom, of shlemut, of wholeness and balance, and most of all of peace. Peace in your heart and in your mind, peace in our families and our communities. And we pray, dear God, one day, peace in our entire world. On this simcha in our community, this wonderful occasion for you and your family, we join together as one TBJ family and joining together to say, Amen.
So how to process 25 years. I wasn't sure. Andy Foster said, are you going to go retrospective or are you going to go current events? And I said, I don't think either this evening because Ella and Morgan and Gavin, thank you guys. You hit the jackpot tonight. one of those services that you don't get to dinner on time. And so I'm going to take a page out of my mentor's playbook because I remember his 25th at Road of Shalom vividly. And he says I have a better memory than he does. What he did was he gave the 25 lessons that he learned. And that might really scare you. You might say that could be a really long time. So you're going to get cheated because they're going to be sort of just one-liners, if you will, but pieces of what has been most important to me and what you've taught me, what others have taught me along the way. So you'll see. It's not going to be bad. Hi. More Road of Shalom people up there. 1. Following life dreams is worth every drop of effort. Being a rabbi was not a part of my conscious thought most of my life. My first yearning for this calling came when I told my mother that I wanted to be a rabbi on a motorcycle. I was 5 years old, maybe naive, but perhaps children know more about who they are than we adults give them credit for. Following our dreams makes for lives well lived. 2, being authentic always wins the day. When Matthew became a rabbi and Rabbi became Matthew, that's when I finally hit my stride. If one is less real than the other, I and we are not giving our real depth to anyone. 3, guilt is an effective tool of leadership, but it is manipulatively unkind. Encouraging people with love and understanding, with tolerance and sensitivity, go a long way to getting people involved on their own terms. 4, superstition is not religion, and religion is not superstition. Too often we use Bubba Mices, repetitive acts that convince us that we can control more than we do. In other words, we plan and God laughs. We spend more time trying to fix that which we can't control, and then we feel vexed because we are depleted of the wherewithal to deal with the part of our lives that we actually can control. 5, hardship comes our way if we invite it in or not. It can break us down, but in that break, if we pay attention through the tears, we might find the gift of vulnerability. In that very spot, we find our strength. Our wrinkles, both on the outside and the in, our imperfections are our greatest vehicle to spiritual strength. 6, nothing is more precious than relationship. It trumps everything else. We should watch our kids play baseball. We should watch them dance and sing and draw and play whenever and however they can. Being engaged in I-thou moments are the stuff of our ultimate sacred satisfaction. 7, we can't do anything out of the ordinary until we make sure that we are consistently making the donuts. Making donuts, what does that mean? That is the everyday life of rabbis and cantors, and this goes specifically to all of us up here. Clever social media posts, congregational trips, authoring books, clergy councils, none of it means anything unless our home here is tended to. You and the life of our congregation must come before we do anything else to burnish our careers. You are our calling. 8, speaking of, holding your hands when you experience loss, embracing you equally when you celebrate, defines the anatomy of my days. Nothing means more to my rabbinate than walking through the valley of the shadow and the peaks of joy with you. Being with you in your most sacred moments is nothing less than an utter and sacred privilege. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me in so intimately. I never, ever, ever take it for granted. 9, Take in every legitimate pleasure that comes your way. Every ounce of pleasure, every ounce of unadulterated joy. It's a Talmudic dictum. It doesn't mean that we overindulge, but it does mean that when we have the possibility of joy, when we have the possibility of pleasure in life, take it in like our lives depend on it. 10. While at it, remember that when we wake up in the morning, we should take a moment to say, Modim anachnu lach. Every day, it is important to remember how lucky we are to breathe, how lucky we are to move, how lucky we are to dance and to cry and to notice. I am reminded too often how fast it goes and how at the drop of a dime, life suddenly changes on us. 11. We are all made in God's image. We from every religion, every race, and every gender are fed from the same Creator. We take in nourishment from the same umbilical cord. It does us good when we treat each other in that same vein. 12. I don't believe that pulpits should be intrinsically political. No matter what you think, I actually think they should not be intrinsically political. But I do believe that the ethics to which we aspire sometimes cross the line into the political. And then we have no choice but to weigh in. As you know, I no longer belong to a political party, but I believe that our faith calls upon us to balance the scales of justice. And for the record, in my book, I can't help but to say on this Shabbat that means we have the moral imperative to fight for a woman's right to choose. 13. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We must fight for ourselves, but at the same time, because we know what it's like to be a stranger in the strange land, we have to stand up to all forms of hate. Hatred anywhere is hatred everywhere, and it is our job to stomp it out. 14. The world of religion is in a huge amount of trouble. When I was ordained, 60% of Jews were affiliated. Now, 29%. But our hair doesn't have to be on fire. 94% of Jews are proudly Jewish. They have simply stopped eating from the synagogue menu. We have created a menu from which to eat here at TBJ. We've done well on that front. We have grown by 400 families in the last 16 years. But we must not rest on our laurels. We have age-old wisdom to impart. We just need to continue to package it in ways that will help ravenous seekers of meaning to push, to pursue right here in our sacred home. 15. EQ, in my book, emotional intelligence is more important than IQ, or at least in equal measure. Pushing our kids to study for the sake of achievement only simply leads to a road to nowhere. Learning is precious, and street smarts and common sense, those are the parts that win the day. Grit and empathy, wherewithal, will manifest into all kinds of success. 16, and this is to every single child of this congregation. To our children of Bnai Jeshurun, we love you. We believe in you. We know that life is riddled with anxiety and challenges. You have lived in the last few years through unbearable life crises, but the world is bright with possibility, and we are not only here to support you, but we believe that you are our guarantors to building a bridge to the world that you so deserve. 17, did you know that I'm a Mets fan? I'm sure you'd never heard that before. I am because my mother before me was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan. Jets, Knicks, and Rangers also. It's been a hell of a sports life for me. But we stick with our teams, and we don't get on the bandwagon. The Messiah may actually come before the Mets ever win the World Series, but when they do, you'll never see anything like it. 18. Don't discount the power of contrition. The business of reconciliation is complicated and fraught with emotional danger, but the opposite leaves us estranged and without the people who count the most. There are some with whom we just can't, but we should always be thorough in our attempts. 19, find time for yourself. Make space to grow and evolve and meditate. We all have a purpose for being here. Our job is to clear the soul brush and access our wisdom. Simultaneously, let's never forget to make ourselves accessible and open and available. Every single one of us is walking around fighting secret battles that we don't share on the outside. So be patient and be tolerant. I am Rabbi Matt and not Rabbi Gewirtz as much as we tried. Rabbi Levine at my installation literally made you all pronounce my name. But you know what? You try to get a preschooler to say the word Gewirtz, it's not accessible. And we are here to be accessible to you. 20, Judaism is not the only truth in the world. Others have worthy religions which are their truths. But let's protect our precious legacy, our identity, and our faith. Let us be loud and proud of our heritage and religion. Anti-Semitism is real and louder than it has been in my entire lifetime. We should combat it with our sense of pride for who we are and how we stand up when we look in the mirror. 21, without a vibrant Israel, there is no hope for we Jews living in the diaspora. We need to support and defend Israel, full stop. We have plenty of work to do to perfect the Jewish democratic project, now 74 years old. But even in our critique and efforts to be the best Israel possible, our love cannot waver. 22, I was taught to hire the very best team I can find. Indeed, my mentors have taught me that if I struggle with their success, that's for me to reconcile in therapy. But each brilliant member of this team makes me and makes us better. We are lucky because we are surrounded by one of the most deft, talented, superlative, devoted, brilliant, hardworking synagogue teams in this country. The people up here, the people back there, the people you don't see, we have one of the very best teams around. All of you are my sacred partners, and you're my family, and I actually absolutely adore doing God's work with you every single day. 23, besides my family, serving this storied and unique congregation is the honor of my lifetime. I have been blessed to partner with 6 extraordinary presidents. We haven't always agreed, but we have loved and respected each other with authentic depth. That goes for lay leadership who give of their lives to this community, and most of all to you, my congregational family, those of you who are here, and I promise I got all the emails and all the Facebook posts. I get it. COVID's on the rise. Everyone does what they need to do. My love is with all of you at home as well. You have been served by some of the most talented and important clergy in this country. I have taken my place in that line and have and will continue to serve you with all of my head and all of my heart and all of my spirit. I fell in love with you the night of my interview, and our love has deepened and matured so that we are in divine and precious covenant. Simply said, I love you. I love you. 24, we are nothing without the mentors in our life. I have been so blessed with acute wisdom, patience, guidance, measure, loving critique, support, and encouragement by my teachers. I suffer deeply from those who have left us. I particularly miss and look for, and am still guided by Rabbi Barry Green. And Lisa, I don't care if it embarrasses you or not. I'm so lucky. Lisa preceded me as the rabbinic intern at Rod Shalom, also one of Rabbi Levine's students, and then introduced me out here. In some ways, I guess this was meant to be. So to be able to share that moment with you yesterday was just outstanding. So Rabbi Barry Green, my loving predecessor, Rabbi Aaron Pankin, who was taken tragically 4 years ago, just yesterday, Rabbi Alan Abraham Kay, my spiritual brother and guide, and most of all, my parents, Tabitha and Arthur, who would have looked at every moment, would have cherished every single moment of this evening. Joe Kay, my master educator, is watching tonight and still shares her wisdom generously. And to you, my most substantial mentor of life, Rabbi Robert N. Levine. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert and Gina, not just for being here tonight, but for teaching me, teaching Lauren and me what it means to be the people that we are, the rabbi that I am, the people that we've turned into. You were the first ones to take a chance on that young, unbridled rabbinic student in 1993. You showed me the ropes. You pushed me to find and be my very best. Your belief in me helped me to learn to believe in myself. These lessons I have shared tonight, at least half of them come from the two of you. Lauren and I love you and your children from the deepest places in our hearts. 25. We are nothing without family. They are our most precious gift. Lauren and I are blessed with 3 multi-layered, beautiful, talented, sensitive, bright children. Jake, Talia, and Sadie. There's nothing more they would dislike than if I were to cry right now. That's not here. I know that you didn't ask for this life, and that sometimes it has kept me from being with you as much as you might need me. Mommy and I also know that this life has taught you so much about navigating the world and has granted you a multitude of blessing. Mom and I love you more than anything in the world, and we're so incredibly proud of each of you for the people you are becoming. And to my bride, my beautiful, smart, funny, talented, devoted, generous wife of 20 plus years. There is no greater accomplishment in my life. As I like to say, there's no greater ongoing accomplishment of my life than being married to you. We had to figure out this complicated life, and we did, and we still do. Very few here will ever understand what you give to our family and the countless hours you give in service to our congregation. We are inextricably bound. Inextricably bound. We are partners in love and in life. I am in debt to you. I thank you for this evening and for everything you do in dealing with your complicated and exhausting husband. I love you from every crevice of my being. Thank you for marrying me, and thank you for loving me. As I come to an end, I will tell you that I had a professor in rabbinic school named David Sperling who told us that if we were good at what we do, we'd all have one sermon that we'd preach our whole lives. Basically, no matter how many sermons you give, there's just one message. So my loving and sometimes obnoxious son said to me, "Dad, what's the point of coming to services? You're just going to give the same sermon again." And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What is the message?" He said, "Come on, Dad. It's always hope. It's always optimism. There's always going to be a better day tomorrow." I could just say that over and over again, and that's what you preached for the last 25 years. Well, my boy, who's graduating high school in a couple of months, which some of you can't believe since he got here, 2 years old, running up and down this alleyway. You're right, Jake. That is my message, and I'm never going to stop giving it. I believe in a better tomorrow. I believe that as the sun comes up tomorrow, that we could be better and stronger and more resilient than we were today. I believe that as bad as the world is in Ukraine and our own streets, that somehow we have the power and potential to be better and to make better. And I don't believe it's up to God. I believe that God is leaving it up to us to make a change and make a difference in this world. And I will continue to preach until you don't let me do it anymore, that I believe in a better tomorrow. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. I praise you, God, and I thank you, my Maker. I thank you because you gave me life. I thank you because you have sustained me. And I thank you because you have brought me to one of the most extraordinary moments in the cycle of my life and given me 25 years in a career that has made me utterly grateful and makes me look forward to everything that's to come. Thank you for being in covenant with me, and thank you for coming out tonight. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
You just heard Rabbi Gewirtz set us up perfectly for what you were about to hear. I was taught that engagement and bringing people together is the number one goal of a community, and the way that I was taught to love being Jewish was through song. And so this is my small gift to our Rabbi Gewirtz this evening and to all of you. This is a really talented group that I have now dubbed the TBJ Junior Cantors, and they're going to lead us in a really beautiful rendition of Shehachianu. So without further ado.
So it wouldn't be a night of celebration without some gifts. So I'm going to invite Rabbi Matt to come back up. He said no gifts, but when people say that, sometimes they don't mean really no gifts. Yeah. So these are two small things from our congregational family. And I'm going to tell you what they are, which is one is a photo album of 25 years of photos that we collected, Lauren and I, not surprisingly, from your classmates, from your students, from your TBJ family and your Rhoda family that we hope you'll add to it. The second is I know what you love almost as much as us, and that is the Beatles. And so there is a small frame with a photo, but that is just to represent a really beautiful photo of the Beatles in the backseat of a limo from 1964. That is a really beautiful, famous photo that we know will either grace your office or your home and remind you that we know how much you love this pulpit, but we know the things that make your soul soar as well. So from all of us at TBJ, this is for you. As we begin to conclude this evening, we return to our prayer books. Page 282, we rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shameach l'adon hakol, ateitu l'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishmechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor olinu kechol ha'monam, va'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Ve'ne'emar ve'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz hayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Moments of celebration are both bittered and sweetened by memory. Those no longer here in body, those whose presence are deeply missed, and those who died for the divine name and for our sacred homeland. Tonight, before I share names from our own TBJ community, we will mark here Yom HaZikaron, Israel Memorial Day, which we marked this past week. And we hold in our hearts the 23,741 brave men and women who died defending the state of Israel. We hold them close. We pray that through our own sacred actions, their lives and their memories will only be for a blessing. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. And to those names, of course, we add those from our own Bnai Jeshurun community. In the last 7 days in the period of Shiva, and as you hear the name of someone you may be remembering, if you are so inclined, we invite you to rise in honor of their memory. In the last 7 days in the period of Shiva, we remember Bernard Klein, husband of Marilyn, father of Jeremy and Josh, grandfather of Hannah, Abby, Molly, Ori, and Zemi, brother of Melvin and the late Herbert, Fred, and Rosalind. And we remember Ira R. Goldstein, husband of Beverly, father of Allison, and Ian, Elise, Douglas, and Richard, grandfather of Matthew and Molly, Lindsay and Jake, Emily and Seth, Brittany and Sydney, and Harrison, Bennett, and Aiden. In the period of Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning, we remember Judith Liebman Hyman, Ezra Michal, Elliot Goldstein, Janet Stearns, Dr. Howard Charles Schwartz, and Ira Zarin. And on the anniversary of passing this Shabbat, their yahrzeit, we remember Benjamin Altshuler, Virginia M. Ash, Harry M. Bergoffin, Cheryl L. Berman, Arthur Block, Dr. Newton A. Bornstein, Elias Bucksbaum, Robert Allen Denberg, Sophie Dreskin, Morris Fadem, Hyman Finkler, Helen Fox, Dr. Samuel Martin Gilbert, George R. Goldstein, Private First Class John Augustus Gordon, Herbert A. Grease, Bernard Donald Hecht, Harry Hemmendinger, Albert Back Herzog, David Isaacman, Alma Rothween Jacobs, Dr. A. Milton Jacobs, Janice F. Kahn, Helen Lowy Kaltenbacher, David M. Lewis, Eva Manasseh, Meyer Marks, Julia Heller Matz, Charles Metzger, Julia Meyer, Spencer Negbar, William Newlounder, Bernard Perlman, Rebecca L. Pelchik, Abraham Pollock, Abraham H. Puder, Fanny Marks Rocklin, Robert S. Radow, Irving Rebenfeld, Michael L. Ross, Jacob Rotler, Beth Parker Ruddy, Rose Schneider, Harry Schneiderman, Harry Schwartz, Nettie Sheslow, Gloria Kaplan Singer, Abraham Solinsky, Julia Spivak, Sigmund H. Steckler, Monroe E. Stein, Barbara Berinsky Stiles, Gloria Wasserstein, Minnie Levy-Weil, Edgar Weiler, and Celia Weinberg. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may each of their memories only be for a blessing for us and for people everywhere. We rise for the words of Kaddish, our prayer of memory, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam olamel maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damin ram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, huyasei shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. May the one who creates harmony on high bring that same peace to all of us. As together we say, amen. Please be seated. The only announcement I want to make is that we are going to, immediately following our concluding song and our benediction, we're going to let Rabbi Matt leave the sanctuary first, and you can meet him in Steiner Hall, where we have a really beautiful festive oneg. You probably are hungry, and there's going to be lots to eat and drink, and so please, we'll let him go first, and then we will all join in Steiner Hall for a beautiful oneg. Tomorrow, we have 3 wonderful young people who are going to be called to Torah as bar and bat mitzvah. So we want to invite up Ella, Morgan, and Gavin to join us on the bima to share with us in Shabbat evening Kiddush and Motzi. The Kiddush cups that Cantor Fishbein is going to hand you are gifts from our congregation's Women's Association and Brotherhood. We hope that the sweetness in them tonight you will take with you in your lives. You'll remember this time. We are very, very proud of you. Can't wait to celebrate with your families tomorrow. Mazel tov. Are you ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'beratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah Lemikra Kodesh Zeher Litziat Mitzrayim Kivanu Vaharta Ve'otanu Kidashta Mikol Ha'amim Ve'shabbat Kodshecha Ve'ahava Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lehem min haaretz. Amen.
That's for you to take home. Yeah, you can keep those.
In honor of Yom Ha'atzmaut, we are going to invite you to rise as we conclude our service with Hatikva. We'll invite you to remain standing afterwards for our final benediction.
Ribon borei kol chai. Anotein tikva urufua lechol yoshvei tevel. Dear God, creator of the universe, the one who brings hope and healing to this world, we are reminded and reassured the hope that even in the darkest moments you have endowed us with hope. And you are the source of all healing in partnership with those who are entrusted with our health and well-being. Our world desperately needs medical doctors to bring healing to the body, but it also needs spiritual doctors to heal our souls. We ask you to bless our newest doctor, Matthew. Matthew, we celebrate that you have ministered to our spiritual and communal needs for a quarter of a century. You have been the faithful and passionate voice of wisdom, justice, compassion, and loving kindness. You have given voice to the lonely and the oppressed. You have taught us to welcome the stranger and open our hearts to diversity and inclusivity. You have taught us how to distinguish between Kodesh and Chol, between the sacred and the profane. As you begin the next 25 years of your rabbinate, my good doctor of divinity, like a medical doctor, you also need to take the pulse of your congregation. When the pulse of the congregation races, you must find a way to calm things down. When it lags, you must find a way to revitalize us in our sacred work. You must listen to the heartbeat of your congregation. When there is an erratic arrhythmia, you must find a way to keep the rhythm of the congregational life steady and strong, sometimes even finding ways to shock things back to a strong and normal rhythm. You must constantly check the vision of your congregation. When there's myopia, you must help your people see the bigger picture and not get caught up in the minutia. And when our people are farsighted and somehow can't see what is in front of them, you must clarify and sharpen their vision to allow them to see the challenges and the richness of the world around them. You must consistently take the temperature of your congregation. When tempers flare and things get feverish, you must be a cooling and calming force and restore a sense of normalcy. Listen to how your congregation breathes. Be the spiritual stethoscope, for in the final analysis, it will be the true measure of your congregation's vitality. For the breathing, the inspiration, is the life force of a congregation. And so we ask that God will continue to give you the strength and the commitment to continue to do what you have done so superbly for the past 25 years. Be the good shepherd who is there for your flock, to lift us up when we fall, to rejoice with us when we celebrate life's incredible moments, to feed our souls and nurture us when we hunger and thirst for spiritual nourishment, and continue to be a blessing to all who are privileged to call you their rabbi, their friend, and now their doctor, a title you have earned and is so well deserved. Baruchem atem b'voachem, u'baruchim atem b'tzeitchem. May you be blessed as you entered this sacred space, and may you be blessed as you leave this sacred space. Go forth to healing and to hope, to light and to love, to justice and to joy, and to life and peace. And together we say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Desmond had a barrow in the marketplace. Molly is the singer in a band. Desmond says to Molly, girl, I like your face. And Molly says this as she takes him by the hand. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. Desmond takes a trolley to the jewelry store, buys a 20-carat golden ring, takes it back to Molly waiting at the door, and as he gives it to her, she begins to sing. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Couple of years they have built a home, sweet home. With a couple of kids running in the yard of Desmond and Molly Jones. Happy ever after in the marketplace. Desmond lets the children lend a hand. Molly stays at home and does a pretty face, and in the evening she's a singing with the band. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. In a couple of years they have built a home, sweet home. Couple of kids are running in the yard of Desmond and Molly Jones. Happy ever after in the marketplace. Molly lets the children lend a hand. Desmond stays at home and does his pretty face, and in the evening he's a singer with the band. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. Obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. Bra-la-la, then life goes on. la-dee-la-da.
All right. How's everybody doing?